Good evening, everybody. This is Florence Donald. It is Friday, and tonight on the Personal and Purposeful Productivity Show, we're going to talk about how I set up my day for success. I don't know about you, but if you're one of those people who the day gets away from you, it gets started, and you're trying to run to catch up with the day starting, setting up your day first before anything else can be a boon to your productivity. Let's get into it. Welcome to tonight. I'm going to get right into the data because this one is one that I use every single day. So excited to have everybody here. So, step one, I talked about this and I think it was our second live stream. And I talked about having a working calendar, and that's really where we start. I start my day reviewing my calendar. Now, not just reviewing it, but really studying what it is. I look at 3 days. I look at the day before. What did I have? What events did I have? What reminders did I have? Did I forget something? Then I look at today. What's on the plan, on the schedule? What appointments? What calls? What meetings, what reminders, what information do I really need to know that's today? I use the top part of the calendar, the all day, for those key reminders. I think I shared with you for my team that what I do is if they're going to be out of the office or unavailable, I'll put a note at the top of my calendar for that day so that I see it. And then I look at the next day. What's coming up the next day? Because today I need to be preparing for tomorrow. Today I need to look back and make sure I didn't miss something that happened the day before. And then today I need to just have a quick reminder of what is going to happen today. I do this every day, and the calendar can be really full or it can be light. It could be Saturday and my day says morning routine and rest and relax. But I still look at the prior day, today, and tomorrow. Though that way, I'm always keeping a reminder in front of me and I'm knowledgeable about what my day is supposed to look like. I do this in my personal life and I do it in my career, and I certainly now do it with YouTube. What is it today, for example, that I have on my calendar for my work life, my project management, the work that I do in IT? What is on my calendar now for YouTube and every other area of my life? I look at all of it, not just I got to be at work at X amount of time and home at a certain amount of time. I look at 3 days every day: the day before, the current day, and the upcoming day or the next day. So if you don't employ this tip, it is very powerful to do, and it doesn't take a long time. This only takes you like 2-3 minutes. It doesn't take you 15 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes to take a quick look, get it in your brain, understand what's there, and then you move on. The next step is notes and brain dump. And I look at all the notes that I haven't processed, that I've taken, usually from the day before in my case. And then I look at the brain dump. If I've taken notes in the middle of the night, I shared with you, I keep paper by the bed. So I bring all of that to the desk here and I look at it. I look through it. Now, what am I looking for and why would I do this every day? I'm looking for things that are next actions. What are the things, the next actions I agree with myself or I made a commitment to someone to do? I want to get those into my action tracker. Then I look at my notes. Are there things that I've delegated or I have marked as ETR, remember the expect to get a response by, that I want to make sure I put into my tracker and when that's supposed to happen? Then I look for what information in those notes and brain dumps is just reference material. Now I've done a quick look through of my notes and my brain dump. And this one is the one that maybe takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes, right? So we're about 13 minutes in our day in the morning, hopefully in the morning. 13 minutes if you take about 5 to 10 minutes for this, 2 to 3 minutes for your calendar. Then you can process that. Now, one thing I do as well is actions. I'm putting them in my action tracker. Just as I'm looking through those notes, I'm getting them in there. My ETRs or delegated things, I'm putting those in my action tracker as well and putting a date when I expect to get a response by on those actions. And then the reference I'm filing in my reference system. I shared with you my reference system is primarily, I have two, but primarily personally, anything that's not my job, so to speak, at my where I work is in Evernote, and that's where I file that. It may be as simple as I take my phone and take a picture of it and throw it in there, and I'm done. I don't make it hard. I don't create fiction. I make it very, very simple. So those are the first two things that I do. I look at my calendar first. Before I look at anything else, I look at my calendar. Then I go through and look at my notes and my brain dump, usually from the day before. I may get a little bit of it that morning, and I'm looking at what I wrote down as I'm going through my calendar. I've added it. That's what I do. So we got some folks here this evening, so I want to say hello to a few people. I want to say hello to my friend here, and I'm going to make some adjustments because of course, I didn't change this before the live stream, so it's going all the way off the screen. Louise, all the way from South Carolina, welcome to the show tonight. I hope you get something of value that you can absolutely apply in your day-to-day. Of course, thank you, Frank, for being here with us today. Always excited to see you. And again, I want you to get something out of this that's valuable to you. And then, of course, we have none other than the fantabulous Joshua Ewell here. And thank you for saying the 3-day calendar review is a great tip. It is a superpower. It is a superpower. And I'll tell you where I got that from. Years ago, when I was using the Franklin Covey, one of the things in the training I learned is not only look at the current day and not only keep your calendar for the current month, but keep the month before and the upcoming month in your binder. So it was a binder-based system. I simply adopted that and used it to that thought process. Remember, I'm an abstract thinker, so I take things and apply them from one thing into another. I took that 3-month view and scaled it down to a 3-day view. That's really what I did. Just taking something that was much bigger, making it smaller, and making it work for me. So excited that you're enjoying that. The third step in the process is that I then work in my action tracker. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Other than my calendar, every day my action tracker is where I live. It's where I work out of. It has to work for me. It has to have overalls on. And how does it have overalls on? Well, first of all, earpiece falling. I look at what are the actions that I put on my action tracker that have either planned or scheduled dates, meaning it has a due date or a date that I said I'm going to do this work, or I've just tagged it somewhere with a due date. It's not going to typically show up in my calendar, but it will show up in my action tracker. So here's the tip. This means I'm using an application, a digital action tracker, because that's where the date, I'm going to see that date. I put those in. Anything that I put a date on, especially if it's coming up or it's due today, or I've said I'm going to start it today, I put that on my action tracker and mark it for today. The next one is, what are those high priority or urgent items that have shown up? Maybe they came from my brain dump. Maybe they came from meeting minutes from the day before. Maybe they came in another format. Remember, we did the assessment, so maybe it was in a chat message or something. So it was a priority that I need to take care of. That goes on my action tracker for the day. Once I get through those two things, planned or scheduled actions and high priority or urgent actions, then I look at, if I had my ideal day, what would I be doing? I've taken care of the necessity. Now, what's important to me to do to move myself forward? I'll give you an example. Today, it was to go and check my live stream to make sure when I change the scenes, I'm not self-muting. You could submit that would be a planned one, but it's also ideal. So, because I'm trying to learn this whole YouTube and Ecamm and all that. So I don't want to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. That I've put into my ideal day. So my action tracker has three parts: planned and scheduled actions, high priority, planned and scheduled. I'm going to come back to high priority or urgent, and then my ideal day. You can call them A, B, C, eat that frog, big rocks, small pebbles. This is the way I think of them, though. It doesn't really matter what words I attach to it. When I'm thinking about it and I'm looking at it and I'm planning my day out, I'm laying it out, then that's the way I categorize them. Okay. Then the other thing that I do is I look at, what do I need to make that action successful? Do I need a piece of software? Do I need a certain file? Do I need a piece of paper? Do I need some information pulled from someplace? I gather all of that together and put it where I know where it is. I will pay in my note-taking application, I'll just make a page and put all of it together. I don't have to go looking for it when I get ready to execute on that action then, because I've already pulled it together. That's the secret sauce in here in planning these actions. Whatever I need, if it's, let me see, let me give you something I did yesterday. I had to go on site yesterday. I needed both phones. I needed my notebook. I needed an extra pen. I needed a charger. I needed a file that I needed to be able to get access to. Before I left, I pulled all of that together in one place. I made sure that when I got to where I was going to be, I could access every single thing I needed to access. So that is how I plan the day. I go through those three simple steps every day. Not complicated, keep it simple, keep it friction free, and do it the same way. Couple things you'll notice. I didn't say I open email. I don't look at text message. I don't look at Slack messages. I'm not processing my notes in everything. I'm not going to downloads. I'm not searching on the internet. I'm not searching YouTube during this process. I'm simply going through the core parts of my system that I know I can rely on. And by doing the 3-day calendar and those reviews, most of the time, not all, but most of the time, it's pretty clear to me what fits into my action tracker and what is a priority for that day. And I don't have to do a lot of thinking about it. And the brain dump helps me to catch those things that came up the day before that I need to account for. Then I assess, look at my calendar, look at my action tracker. Do I have too many actions to fit in based on what's in my calendar today? If I have 17 hours, I'm exaggerating, but let's say I have 7 hours of meetings, then I'm not going to do 7 hours of actions. I'm going to do maybe an hour to an hour and a half. Now I look at that action tracker list and say, okay, is there anything in here I can move to another day, later in the week, next month? Because I'm not going to be able to get to it today based on what's in my calendar. Once I get through those steps, my day is set. Now I can go. I can start executing and start running my day, and I'm not stressed out completely because I didn't set the day up for me to be successful. I'm going to ask you, if you have questions, go ahead and put a question in the chat by using Q, and then whatever your question is, I will be very, very happy to answer your question. And while you're doing that, I will also say to you, if you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. Help me out. It'll help the channel out. It'll help YouTube let people know that we're here and we're sharing information. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're part of the replay crew, not the live tribe tonight, if you're part of the replay crew, go ahead and put a comment in. Leave a comment. How do you start your day? I would love to know. What are your core? You start your day every day. You set your day up using these 3 steps or 4 steps or 5 steps. You know, I had a question a week ago in a meeting, and someone said how they start their day, and just about everybody said, I start my day with coffee and then anything else. Well, yeah, that's true. I do. I need my cup of coffee. However, in terms of setting the day up so that I can be successful in the day, these are the 3 steps that I go through. And with that, I've really shared with you something that's magical and very simple. Again, I haven't talked about an application. I haven't said you have to do it a certain way. You can draw stick men if it gives you what you need. Just make it so that it's quick, it's easy, it's consistent, and you know what you're going to do. Make it a habit. This is one of those times where if you aren't in the habit of doing it, you could use don't break the chain and start a habit and track and do it every day until it becomes a habit. You know, the theory is it takes you 21 days. It may take you longer than 21 days to make this process a habit for yourself. But whatever it is, and it may be that you do part of it and not the other part. If you do part, then work on building a habit in the part that you currently don't do and continue with the part that is currently a habit. So, of course, I'm going to challenge you to take action. The first challenge I'm going to give you in summary is commit to action. Commit to yourself to schedule your daily planning. Put it in your calendar. It can be 15 minutes. It doesn't need to be a long time. This does not take an hour. It doesn't even take 30 minutes. 15 minutes is all you should need. Schedule the time in your calendar so that you know it's blocked and you see it every day in that 3-day review. The second step I'm going to say to you is make it a habit to gather your resources that you need when you see what you're planning. Pull them all together before you start executing so that when you get into executing, you're not having to stop and go find a file. You're not having to stop and go find a book. You're not having to stop and look up a phone number. You're not having to stop and look for a internet address. You're not having to stop to do. You can just execute. Put it all in your action tracker and in your calendar so that what you need is at hand right there when you need it. You've got it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to stop and introduce friction, and then you don't get as much done because you've wasted time looking. The third step is after you've done this, after you've developed the habit, evaluate its effectiveness. The evaluation is what's working and what can I improve. It took me some time to get my system down, my daily planning down. It didn't happen day one. I started, and then as I went along, I made incremental improvements. I'd find a place where it wasn't working, and I would tweak it. I found another place that wasn't working, and I'd tweak it. So those are the actions I would say to you to commit to. 1, schedule your daily plan and lay out what your steps are. 2, in the process of doing those daily steps, make sure you gather all the resources that you need. 3, over time, maybe every week or every 2 weeks, evaluate how effective it is for you, what you're doing. So we do have a question in the chat, and so I'm going to bring it up and try to get some answer to it. See, I'm still working this computer thing. Yeah, whoa, didn't want to do that. Oh. I got to try to make this small so I can actually read it now. I don't know what I'm doing. I know how to do productivity. I don't know how to work with a computer, apparently. Now I made it real teeny. Okay. It says, for beginners, do you recommend a paper process or app to begin our planning journey? For beginners, this is what I say to anyone who comes to me. What do you use today? If you use an app and you're you don't have to be totally comfortable with it. You're somewhat comfortable with it, use your app. If you use paper, use paper. Don't try to introduce a whole new thinking process and approach and learn an application at the same time. It doesn't work because you got two places where you're trying to change. You're trying to learn a new application and you're trying to learn a new process simultaneously. So process is much more important than an application. Figure out your process first. So whichever one you use today. For me, I have two systems because I shared with you all my work. I keep it completely separate from everything else in my life. I have a Windows computer, and in my personal life, outside of that, I use Mac for everything. I don't have a Windows anything. So I'm going to talk about my life outside of my work. I use multiple applications, honestly, but I use one for note taking. I use one for my action tracker. And then I also shared with you all that I do use paper, and I use this notebook a lot. So I'll go through this notebook and I'll open it up and I'll say, okay, what did I write down yesterday? I'm trying to get to a page. What did I write down yesterday? You can't really read it, but what did I write down yesterday that I need to grab and put in my action tracker? So I actually use paper and I use digital. So that will work for you. And I'm going to share with you that if you want some help, I got this Buy Me a Coffee, and I did it for a couple of reasons. Number one, the channel, I want you all to support the channel if you're getting value, and I'm hoping you are getting value from what you're sharing. So you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Equip Institute, and there you can either donate one time or become a member on a recurring basis. And in that way, we grow a community. The channel can get what it needs to grow. And it's also where you can let me know that you want some personal one-on-one assistance, and I'll work with you. And the other question, I'm going to see if I can get this on the screen and I got crazy going on here. Let's see if I can figure this out. Let's see how that is. Okay, I'm just going to have to do this way. Do I use an electronic or a paper calendar? My master calendar is an electronic calendar. However, in my book is a paper calendar, and I'll tell you why. For me, I'll have the book open. It's literally laying on the desk open the entire time. So if I'm working in different applications, like I told you I use Microsoft Project a lot, or I'm using some other software. If I'm working in that software, I'm not looking at my digital calendar. So the way I get around that is I've jotted down those key appointments, not everything, but key appointments that I have to be someplace or meet someone. Today, I had a meeting at 10 o'clock. I have a meeting every Friday at 12:30. I had a meeting at 1:30 today. Those were critical for me to get to. I just jotted those down on the paper calendar. But it's in the same book. It's not someplace else, so it's what I'm using every day anyway. And it's just Literally, this book that you're seeing has a monthly calendar, 12 monthly calendars, 52 weekly calendars, and a page for every single day of the year. And this is how thick it is, as you see. So it's really super thin paper. It's not super heavy, and I can get the entire year in this one book, and that's what I use as my go-to. I have sticky notes when I just like, I don't need to put this in the book. I'll just grab a sticky note, or if I want to give someone else a note or something like that. And then I don't take this to my bed most days to out of here. It stays here at my desk in the office. And so I keep a steno pad by my bed so that when I wake up in the middle of the night or whatever and I want to jot something down, I have it there. So that's what I do with that. So that's wrapping it up tonight. I am so excited because we're now getting into how does she do what she does without focusing initially on apps, focusing on process. What is my process? Because once you nail down your process, then you can make your process work in just about any app. But if you start with, in my opinion, if you start with the app first, take it from somebody who spent more money and more time trying to learn applications, but didn't have my process down. But once I focused on my process, it doesn't matter what the application is if I'm using it. It doesn't matter at all because my steps and my approach is the same regardless. So start your day with a daily plan. With that, we're going to sign off and say good night. Thank you guys for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you guys next Friday at 6:30. Yes, I know it's the day after Thanksgiving. It will be a short one, but I want to stay consistent and not break the chain of live streaming every week at this point. Have a great evening, everybody.